Welcome back to Caffeine Professionals. My name is Allan Zoe. I'm joined by my lovely Vermontian co-host Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
And we're here with our first ever recurring challenger guest of the podcast. I gave him a big old introduction last season. If you don't know him at this point, it's Kyland Young.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I did not know I'm the first time recurring guest, and I feel honored because I reached out to you because I was like, I just like how consistent you are with reporting, recapping the show and giving all your thoughts. And I don't know, I'm just such a fan of the show. So I love connecting with other people who are passionate about the challenge. And thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you here. And you're the one who requested. I think there's a lot of stuff that's been on your mind throughout the season where you're like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. Now, we know some spoilers though at points, like just because if you're deeply in this fandom, it's hard to ignore them all. And so I knew you were going pretty far into the show. And because of that, it's like, well, if we bring you on the podcast mid-season, there's so much stuff that you just cannot talk about because you don't want to, you can't fully explore everything. Now, season's over, we get to talk about everything.
Perfect.
Zoe, anything you want to start off with?
I, for one, had no idea how far you went on this season because I have had every challenge-related term muted since you guys left to film 40.
That's impressive.
And I still have a lot of them muted, so I'm spoiler-free for All Stars 5 and whatever's happening for 41. So when I drafted you in the first round of our fantasy draft, I was just like locked and loaded and believing.
Oh, wow. Do you get points for, things that don't include winning the show, or is it just winner take all?
Yeah, Alan, give a good recap about what we get points for.
Yeah, we get points based on like competition, based on drama, based on who's posting on social media still. Because I think the cast members who don't interact with fans on social media, like, kind of annoying. So you did good in that department. And then hookups, and then we also you did good in that department too. And then we also had a don't be boring, don't be wallpaper. Like we had like negative points if you're just on the show but not doing anything.
I love it. That was my motivation, was to get whoever had me in fantasy as many points as possible. So, I'm glad to help.
Now, unfortunately, because you had, I would say, if we were doing this podcast right up till before the finale, we're talking about you having one of the best seasons in challenge history where, you won multiple eliminations in dominant fashion. You were killing the daily challenges, won the mini final. You were just either first or second place all around. And a lot of it has just sunk. And in more ways than one. So how has been because you had such a great season, but then now you're just having to talk about the whole final experience over and over again. What's that been like?
So I'm not sure how long you were holding in the drowning comment. It felt like I was like, whoever was the social media person for the challenge, woke up and chose violence on the last episode of the final because I had posted and they were like, swim for the win. And I was like, y'all are crazy right now for this. But what was the question?
What's it like to have an amazing season only to have, just to have it end on that note?
Honestly, it has been a roller coaster. I'd say that, when it first happened, I am down on myself bad. I am legit. This is no, when we finished the final, I was so disappointed in my inability to be competitive in the final. I was sitting there when TJ's telling us about the karma points, after we finish the checkpoints and we don't know the impact. And I was like, if they tell me that that me and Johnny are going to switch from third to fourth, I'm just going to say no. I'm just so, and that's nothing again. now in my right peace of mind, I'm like, you know what? Just take it. That's okay. But in the moment, that's how down bad I was about my performance in the final. I was just like, this is so terrible. Because I just got last across the board, and all but 2 times. So I was like, nah, I was just so down on myself. And once again, that's not against like Rachel or anybody. Like karma points. It's like everyone says, like the old saying, don't hate the player of the game. Like that's how it was. And so, but that was just more how I felt about myself at the time. It took me a while, I think, to get past that. Just not like, maybe a month or so. And I was on the road a lot. I kept myself busy after I came back home. So then we start watching the show, and you kind of do have that buildup of, well, the first half, I guess no one's really paying attention to me until I guess the eliminations towards the end, or at least the second one, I'd say, is when it starts. And then we go individual, and then I do start, being competitive. Like it's Jordan won, me too, and then all of a sudden it was like me won, and then it was me won again, and then Jordan too, and then switching that up. So that was amazing to experience there, and it was amazing to watch again, except while watching it, you have that thought in the head, I'm like, none of this matters almost. Like it is, and it's also weird because, you're encountering people that are watching, whether online or especially in real life, they're just like, yo, I'm cheering for you. And I'm like, thank you. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to go for it. Don't worry. Like I'm going for it. So that is a weird feeling for sure. Especially coming from Big Brother, where we come out and it's all said and done. Whereas this is the opposite. And, I've been getting used to it, but it doesn't stop being a weird experience. And watching it back, I found myself freaking out, like sad again. But then I'd say 2 things that helped me shift the perspective. One was kind of talking to some of the other cast people and realizing and getting back out of my head as far as like, oh, everyone has their own story. So it's like Tori, and watching the show and talking to her, you see her confessionals where she's like, you know what? It's cool because I had 30 as my first season and I made it to the final, but I wasn't ready. And then I worked my way and then I got my win. And now's my chance to compete against all the people who I haven't got to compete against, who everyone says better than me, and to show that I actually am good compared to them. And then she has, the most dominant season of male or female as far as challenges go, and then has the experience that she has with the final. So I'm like, dang, yeah, that actually, let me get out of my head, and that must be crazy. Or Johnny is like, this is my show, and now I'm getting embarrassed in this final. And so it's just I'm like, wow, okay, that is, everyone's having their experience. And so I think having that perspective helped bring me, away from the edge of feeling too sorry for myself. And then I will say, my oldest friend, who's a brother, we've known each other for 25 years almost. His name's Darnell, and he was like, I was down myself, and he's like, imagine going to the Super Bowl and getting blown out in the Super Bowl. It's yeah, that feels embarrassing, but no, you had to make it there. You have a great season, you got to make it there. And I was like, you know what? That's true. That is let me at least appreciate that, even because there's a realness to the performance, and so that's why I've been trying to balance all of that.
Well, and based on what I've seen from fan reception, no one could have predicted the amount of swimming that was going to be in this final. And I have a lot of things muted, but I still see comments on some social media, and there was a lot of fans that were really bummed for you because of how phenomenally you performed this season, and it didn't give you the credit that you deserved to have this final formatted the way that it was.
Well, no, I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of swimming, and it's unfortunate for me in my competitor sense, because I wanted to really give, I wanted to compete. I wanted to compete against these guys that were there, especially we have Derek, this kind of sleeper, hasn't gotten to show off how good he can be in the final setting. But then we're literally there with arguably the two of the biggest male goats of the challenge ever. And so I'm like, as we're coming into it, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Because like I always do talk about I want to compete against the best, and now like I have, you know, arguably 2 of the best ever here. And so that's exciting. I'm like, this is gonna be crazy, like, because now I get a chance to find out, like what's it, you know, and we're running, and it's individual, and this is crazy. So, I think coming to the final and not being able to you know, even be competitive, because of that amount of swimming, and I think just how overwhelming the swimming was. You know, Johnny had made a comment, I think after like the first day, he's like, I already feel like I've swam more than all of my seasons combined in this first day. And they're like, you probably have. Like they said straight up, they're like, you probably have. Like this might be as much swimming as the whole series combined. Like it was just such a ridiculous, like when they said this boat is gonna be the starting line and finish line of every checkpoint, I was like, okay, you know what? Like I did practice swimming. My swimming has improved and I can make up time on the checkpoints. And come to find out, I had the fastest time on most of the checkpoints, but it just didn't matter because it was so distance swimming is such a different skill set too. So like I practiced to like get one good sprint out if I needed, and you know, so I failed to prepare honestly because at the end of the day, like I'm not calling it unfair or anything. I think that was the thing that people, you know, you feel cosmic sense of like, oh, this sucks, like this doesn't feel fair, but at the same time, I'm like, Jordan is the best swimmer, but he also had the hardest road to become as good as he is at swimming. Just having one less natural paddle than everyone else. So I'm like, at the end of the day, like that is, you know, people could call that unfair, and he doesn't, and he just figures it out. And so I was just, you know, definitely lit some more fire under me for sure. But it was unfortunate. It was a weird part of my head because I'm such an advocate of like, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. But I'm like, I did prepare for what is normal. This is abnormal, but you know, it still is a skill set that I could have been better at, and I wasn't.
How much swimming have you done since?
I've definitely been doing. I think I'll surprise people if it ever happens again.
We knew
That's the plan.
Like we knew when we were watching the final in particular. I was like, Kyland's already working on this. I have no doubt in my mind.
And once again, I will say again, like I did practice swimming. I do, you know, and I only say that just for out of respect of the game. I feel like that's the only thing I feel like it's less embarrassing for me to like not to have had the performance I did in the final. And it's more embarrassing if I'm like, no, like I just want people to know that like I respect the game enough to have practiced this. After I found out how terrible I am at swimming in USA, I did seek out and practice, and I did get better, like exponentially better for where I was. It just was not the right type of training for what we had to face. But I like to let people know I did work on it. And so I do work on things. So yeah, I will continue to work on all the things. I learned lots. That was a great part about this season is I got to learn a lot by playing with all of the people who were there. Like it was such a amazing, the benefit to being the newest person there is almost every single person there knew more than me and I could learn from them.
And swimming is just genuinely one of the hardest things to learn once you're an adult, like to get better at once you're an adult, because it's one of those like just natural things. If you learn when you're really young, it becomes really easy, and if you try when you're an adult, it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. So like credit to you for trying.
And you can't learn while you're in the water. I can't with no teaching.
Yeah,
I can tell you that there's no having spent hours in the first day figuring out if I can teach myself. It is not a skill set that you can train with no direction.
I'll say this too. I don't know if you know this, but I'm supposed to run a final in like 6 to 8 months.
What?
Yeah. It's been a whole thing. I announced it a few months ago. I'm supposed to go to a foreign. I haven't picked yet where I'm going yet. I haven't locked it in yet. I'm not going anywhere where it's a crazy swim because I'm not the strongest swimmer. I'm gonna be transparent with that. But yeah, I run a few miles every day, and soon it's gonna be as soon as it's gonna go from like 4 miles, so it's gonna be like 7 to 8 miles a day. I'm really stressed out about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm stressed about it.
How far away?
I said the summer, so technically I have till the end of the summer. We're also saving up money for it too. So we're figuring a lot of details out. But
Is there
yeah.
a group? It's not just you.
It might just be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. And
Alan,
you're designing it?
we could set it up in Vermont in September.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm planning to recreate an entire final that's already been done. And so that's
okay.
so that's where I'm gonna,
What are you
so
eyeing?
right now Patagonia
Okay.
or Thailand.
Is like rivals or for Thailand?
Rivals one would be the Patagonia one.
Oh, Patagonia. Okay. Rivals won Patagonia.
Which almost killed people.
And Thailand is which season were you looking at?
There's a lot of ones for Thailand.
Okay,
There's a
that's
lot
what I feel like. Okay.
It's also like money-wise, Thailand would be just cheaper to go to compared to some other places.
I say you go cheaper.
I agree.
And
I agree.
Also, after you finish your final in Thailand, you can probably find cheap places to like get pampered and massage and vacation and enjoy yourself.
That's also the thought in mind as well. But I'm not swimming any. I'm not doing the 40 final. I can tell you that for sure.
I know it's sad. That's my most annoying part is I'm like, even as I like swim now, I'm like, I know this is never gonna happen again, but whatever.
Well, at least you're not Enzo.
True. I'd say I realized while watching, I was like, you know what? I am another thing that helped me kind of get through both during and especially watching now. I was like, I am so grateful that I got to finish. That it wasn't like a purge final, like last place on the first day doesn't get to continue. That would have been devastating. I say that, and then the other thing that I'm super grateful for is that we were not partnered at any point. Because I was like, I wouldn't recover mentally, emotionally, like not by now. It would take me a while to recover from the sense of feeling like I made someone else lose the final. Like I was like, that would have been devastating. So I'm glad.
Yeah. Instead, karma points, had someone losing a final instead.
Yeah, right.
Let's jump on to actually karma points. Let's talk about Michele a little bit.
Okay.
Because you've taken a lot of heat very randomly online for
Right?
befriending and allying Michele. You guys, obviously, she was trying to get you out on 39. But a whole year's passed, and I don't know if people know this. You came into the season only having done a season with her, Horacio, Nerys, and Olivia before. Everyone else, so interconnected on this cast. You didn't have a ton of people you knew beforehand or like not in person that much, I would think. So I think it would be natural for you to align. And she was pretty loyal to you, but everyone just seems to hate Michele and yours alliance for some reason.
Well, I mean, not everyone got over it. I will say like that I appreciate, you recognizing it, and it's funny because when I talk to anyone one-on-one, I always remember the line from Men in Black. I think about often. He's like, oh, you can just tell people the truth. Like, people are smart. They can handle it. He's like, no, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals. And I was like, I feel very true when you look at social media so much of the time. Because everybody's like, I can't believe you're friends with Michele after everything she did to you. And I'm just like, you guys know we're not like, characters on a TV show that like, we disappear when the season ends and we come back. Like a year of life happens in between that, where we can talk and all these things can occur. And and on top of that, another thing that I think people didn't realize is that in season 39, like the people I talked to the most, it was like Melissa, Horacio, Nerys, and then Michele. Like we would talk the most. Like her list was probably similar. And with different people, but like I was high up on her list as far as just who we talked a lot and bonded a lot, connected, and I think that it's probably because of the games that we come from, being gamers. Like I think our 39 was just me, her, and Jay, coming from the more game type of shows, and so we are pretty good at like compartmentalizing that and. It's we're playing the game and, we have a fun conversation and then it ends like, hey, by the way, if you guys want to not target me that could be great. And it's just kind of like, yeah, well, you're a threat to Jay. Jay's my ride or die. So unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. And I was like, all right, fair enough. So I was looking at it like, you know what? She is loyal. If she could bring that loyalty that she brought to Jay to me. And the other aspect that I point out to people who were watching 40 and complaining, I'm like, who did you want me to go with? Like, I don't know anyone. These people all know each other for years, in some cases decades. And like you said, I only know these people. My actual ride or dies out immediately. So I'm like, okay, so now I can try and intercept one of these decade-long relationships, or I can just hang out with the people that I know who have, said that they're gonna have my back and are following through. And I wasn't reliant in the beginning. Like, I was definitely concerned. Like, I was like, hey, let's see if they follow through on what they're saying. Olivia and Michele, as far as like, are they following through and having my back the way that they said they would? And things were happening that obviously showed that Michele got the opportunity to show with an action in the targeting system that she really did have my back. And so it felt like I made the right decision. And so, and we got close, and that made me so proud of her too, to watch her, have the second best performance in the final was amazing. And I was very proud of the season that she had, because it is like, you got to put some respect on her name now. Like, she made it while fighting more than almost anybody, more than anybody that made it to the final. And, and then she crushes it in the final. So, I was very proud.
Now, what's something that you really want to talk about? Because you've had multiple times in the season where you said, come on the podcast.
Message. Hold up. I'm about to open the messages and see what I said. Yeah, that's a great. I meant to check that. I was like, all right, boom. What did I say? I was like, I know I get messaging every time. I was like, wait. Okay, we got to talk about this. Here's the first one. Oh, okay. Me helping Michele and Rachel in the final.
The only thing I really wanted to stand out about that is I just hated that in the edit, they like show me helping them, and then they show interviews talking about the karma votes. So everybody's like, oh, is he doing this for karma? I'm like, the karma vote is nothing to do with the finalists. I don't know why you guys are portraying it like I'm trying to help these people for karma points right now. I was just bothered by that, because I was like, no, I'm just helping them because because of, why would I not help them? Wait, well, so, oh man, I'll just see. I mean, I don't know anything. I can't even. I don't even. Maybe there wasn't. I thought there was way more messages, but now I don't see them.
Yeah, I don't see them
I may have just
either.
commented. I know. I may have just commented, because I'm like, yeah. Just what do we want? If you bring up enough things, thoughts will come to mind. So
Okay.
what are you guys thinking about?
Let's talk about that Zach Nichols podcast comment about how when Johnny said you're the hungriest competitor, and then they try to make a comment that you're just trying to win the challenge in some Moneyball type version, as if you're not physically killing these comps and like winning puzzles and stuff like that. I thought it was super insulting, personally.
Yeah, I think it was, but then it's also like the context of like, it was if you take it at face value, except like Zach doesn't. Zach, like they are kind of a satire-esque podcast. Yeah. Like they make jokes, they make digs. That's kind of their thing. So it was not hard for me to not take it like personally, and especially because it wasn't. Jordan didn't. He mentioned the obsessed part, which I get on the knowledge side. And then Zach Nichols mentioned the Moneyball comparison of like, a player that's not demonstrating the skill set as well, in addition to the knowledge. So and he did agree, and I was like, what? But I feel like, I always take the context of people as a whole and not just like one conversation. So yeah, if we take it as that one conversation, it does feel insulting. But at the same time, it's like, I haven't
had the opportunity yet to show, like, you know, what I can do. And I think it was, I mean, I have had an opportunity, but like I haven't had the tenure to demonstrate that I am like that good. So I'm like, you know what, right now, yeah, like it's fair enough to say that like I could be the most obsessed and not the most hungry. But I do feel like I was the most hungry. I will say I will stand by my belief in being the most hungry. And I think that most people saw that and knew that. And that was something that I could call out as a almost palpable difference between me and the other players there. Like I made a comment when I was potentially going into when I was going to the elimination against either Darrell or Nehemiah, I was like, you guys have won. Like, you guys don't want this as bad as I do. And that's just a fact. Like, it just was, and they like couldn't argue with it. And Johnny, same thing. Like, he couldn't argue. He would comment. He's like, man, when in the chamber where he cut his toenails, he said, he's like, you're lucky that like, that you weren't here when I was that hungry. Like, I hear you hyping yourself up, getting in the mindset and all these things, like, and we can tell. He's like, and there was a time when I felt like that hungry too. And then, I've had so much experience in life and all these things that like kind of changed some of that. And I was I was like, man, I had after the shower like argument with myself later on when I was like, I should have been like, no, you're lucky I wasn't there, because then you wouldn't have had all these wins. But I was not quick enough to say that. So I was just more like, hey, you know what? I am hungry, and I appreciate you for recognizing it. So yeah, it was. I do maintain, like I said, I think it was fine to take it, and you consider your source. And but yeah, I do feel, and the hunger there is just, I mean, it's only grown. I feel like it grew specifically because this final was when I was getting like in season 40. If you look at this, we had all of Mount Rushmore on the guys and girls, I think, besides like, maybe a couple, like maybe Wes or something, is the missing one of the GOAT contenders of the challenge. And I was like, oh, this is cool, like, to compete against them, especially coming in new. And then once I got to the final, and I was like, if I get this win, it's an undeniable win. Like, with these guys here, I was like, if I win an individual final running against two of the greatest players of all time, like, then it is, it was undeniable. I think that made it so much more devastating to not be competitive in that environment, and to not even get to see, like, okay, because I look at the finals that they've won, and I'm like, I think I could give you a run for your money in all of those finals. Like, I think I would. And this one, I was the only one where I was like, no, I couldn't. And it was, but the hunger they drove me to now is, I'm like, okay, like, I have to make sure that if I have another opportunity on the show, that I create a win that's undeniable. Like, I'm like, okay, like, now I know I want to have a season that I just dominate everything. And I'm like, and now I've learned about, I got to watch Tori basically do that in everything but the final. And I'm like, okay, so let me go ahead and do something like that. And if not, but more. And so it built a hunger, because I'm like, okay, if I'm in a challenge and Johnny, CT, Derek, Darrell, and Jordan aren't there, it's going to be contested. So how do I make it undeniable? And that's the new hunger that I have.
I agree. I mean, you would get mad when I would do some of my rankings online and I wouldn't have you too high. And it was one of those, but like, and wait type moments, because your first season USA, like, Tyson and Danny were really good. And after that, after you three, fell off a cliff real fast. Yes. Last season, there was Horacio, Ed, and you on the guys' side, and after that, it dropped off real fast, in my opinion.
Very accurate.
So like, coming into this season, you have all the legends. I'm like, people are like, oh, you're sleeping on Kyland, you're sleeping on. I'm like, I've never seen him go against these type of players, and then you're winning the mini final. So like, I'm like, all right, he's legit now.
No, I felt the same. I've mentioned before. I was like, I literally called Horacio Nariz like going into the day or two before we left, and I was like, can I compete with these guys? Because I've actually never played with them, and I think in my head I can. But like, you guys got to at least play with some of them in Ride or Dies. They're like, no, like you'll be able to compete, and I was like, all right, like I hope so, and then so that's why this season was really, I think, special to me to be able to find out. I'm like, oh wow, I can compete with these guys. It does feel good, and I was worried about the one comment when it aired about me talking about wanting to take the torch, because I was like, just to be clear, I wasn't saying like, I wasn't trying to be like disrespect. If they played the rest of it, I didn't just say like I didn't come for them to pass me a torch. I came to take it. I was like, I came to take it. Like I came to earn it. Like I came to win it. Like I don't want them to hand it to me. I want to win it from them. And I like to make, double down and make this clear to people. That wasn't, it wasn't me just trying to be cocky or something. I'm like, no, like I want to beat them. That's what that will make me feel like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm competing at this level. And it's like, I am such a big Goku fan, because I always am like, it's not about like, like Vegeta is a cooler character, but he's just trying to beat Goku and beat everyone else. And Goku's like, I want to find out how good I can be. And the only way I can do that is by raising my level of competition. And that's more of the mindset that I feel like I have.
If anyone doesn't see the massive amount of respect and reverence you have for the challenge that's watching the show, they're just choosing to misunderstand you at this point.
I appreciate it. I think you're right. I'll take that. Well said.
What else you got from Zoe?
I was really curious. I get really into the relationships of the show, and I was just wondering if there's anyone that you really vibed with or really connected with that we didn't really get to see on this season, or the opposite. If there was anyone that you had some friction with that we didn't really see it.
I don't think I had friction. I feel like I guess the benefit to being new, even though people cared about me less, they also had less, potential animosity toward me. Like everyone was just open to me. So not a lot of friction. I would say, but bonding, I mean, for outside of what wasn't shown, I don't know. I feel like me and Corey talked a decent amount. Even though they showed us talk one time the entire show. And I did appreciate him, because he came, even if it was strategic, like the day after Horacio left, like he came and was like, hey, like, I know that's your guy, and you know guy. He's like, my normal guy's not here, so if you want to rock, like, let's rock. And I was like, yo, I appreciate it. Like, let's look out for each other and stuff. So that, he would do check-ins and stuff. So I was like, host is in our room.
Oh, what about your buddy Emily Scrum?
Oh my gosh. So that was so interesting to me, because I was like, why does Emily hate me? Like, I genuinely was like confused. And then I found out at the USC event that because I was telling the story and she was like listening, and she's like, wait, what? That's what happened? Because when we put her in, me and Olivia had won, Air Forward won, and me and Olivia were the targets, and now the decision makers to put in, between Devin and Tori and Emily and Nehemiah, and against CT and Tina. And I we were gonna go tell Emily and Nehemiah when we were at the house. And so we told production, like, hey, we're going to go talk to them now. And they're like, actually, could you wait? They told me, I was like, hey, we're going to go talk to them. Like, oh, can you guys wait till the bar? Because we want to have a different setting for that shot. And we're like, yeah, we can tell them at the bar, no problem. So I tell Olivia, and then so Olivia goes to them and says like, hey, I guess she had already said that we wanted to talk, and then she's like, actually, can we just talk to you guys at the bar? And then she's like, yeah, like no problem. So then Emily was like, oh, they just wanted to make a big scene of embarrassing us at the bar. Or Kyland, not they. Kyland just wanted to have a shining moment at the bar and embarrass us by putting us in. And I was like, she's like, I don't know why you guys weren't just up front and stuff. And I thought that was snaky and shitty. And I was like, no, like that is not why. So yeah, so that was a miscommunication. She said, and after that, she said that we are fine now. We had that at USC right before the premiere. We had that clarification. But I was definitely like, I saw interviews. She's like, Kyland's the biggest snake in the house, and I was like, what did I do to Emily? I don't know.
That's quite a leap.
Yeah, I think yes. Thank you. I was like, I don't think that's the go-to word. I was like, yeah, I don't know if anyone else I really got to. Well, okay, a funny thing is that we did get to actually bond with Jenny during the final is really where things started to I think everyone in the final kind of bonded, but
Trauma bonded.
Huh?
Trauma bonded.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Like when you get to the final, which I had been told and I hadn't experienced obviously before this season, but they were like, it's kind of like a point where you still are competitive, like you want to win, but you no longer want other people to like you want other people to finish still. You kind of want everyone there to finish. You're like, we're all suffering together. Let's push through. I want you to get it behind me, but like I still want you to finish. And that energy kind of is like a bonding, that trauma bonding for sure, because we're all suffering together. And misery loves company, and that's probably what it is. And so, but so what was funny with Jenny though is and they like the chamber that we did when it was Naya and Michele and Olivia and Jenny and me we had won, so we were in the decision chair. She like fully unleashes on Michele and Olivia about like, you guys don't care about me at all, you guys don't give a shit about me, and like you guys just were pretending to be nice to me. Like she digs in and they're like, whoa, like wait, what? And basically it was she genuinely did not understand the concept of the game and the social relationships being different things. Like, and when I say like truly to the point where part of what actually, even before that, part of what started the line drawing between me and Jenny was back like early on when she first got targeted, not by me. When she first got targeted, she was like, I feel like somebody should have volunteered and like I'm being pushed out because like, I'm not friends. And I was like, well, I think part of it, I told her, because I was like, I don't have friends here either, basically. Like, I mean, I know Michele and Olivia, but like, I'm still trying to figure out if I could really trust them or not. But they're telling me I can. But I was like, my friends are gone. So I had told her, I was like, just so you know, some people, I was trying to give her some, French extend an olive branch. And I was like, people are worried about your relationship with Bananas. They think that that is going to harm our game. And that, people know that you guys are close. And she was like, no, he's my friend, but that's not going to impact the game at all. He's just my friend. He's my mate, is what she said. He's my mate, but like that's not going to impact the game. And I was like, okay, cool. So then the first time she has power, she's like, Johnny's untouchable. Cannot make him a target. Cannot send him in. Whatever it is. He's my absolute untouchable. And I was like, oh, she's a liar. She played me. I fell for it. She's a liar or whatever. So later on, when she targets me, I target her, and we're talking, and I was like, well, this did kind of feel bad when you when you told me that it's not going to affect your game. It's just your friend. She's like, yeah, I didn't do that for game purposes. I did that because he's my friend. And I was like, wait, what? Like I was like so confused for a while, and before I finally was like, oh, you actually don't understand how those things are connected. Like she fully meant it with all of her heart. She's like, no, like it has nothing to do with the game because of my friend. I'm like, no, but that is the game. Like this is, and she's like, did not get it. So, but likewise, she thought us targeting her in the game meant that we hated her. And so it was a whole, so we did end up bonding, especially after that chamber and during the final. But it was a funny thing that was not shown. because I was like, oh, she genuinely thought that, and it was nice because she's sweet, and I felt, it was sad that people, and now once again she's another person I feel like people can't counter out or the way that they have.
I think we said it in the podcast a few times. Like Jenny is like she's so fit and she's such a great competitor that it really erases the fact that she's bad at the game. Like objectively, just like you could be bad at the game, but she's just so good that it just makes up for it even still.
It that's what the stats suggest, is that she's just good enough a competitor that it doesn't matter. And I think that which on the flip side, I think that was one of the learning things with Jordan was like, oh, it's even better if you're good at both.
Well, yeah, Jordan is like a Michael Jordan, and she's like a Giannis. Where like Giannis is just such a physical freak, where it's like, yeah, he's just getting to the lane every time. I know it doesn't matter. He's just going up and down the court in ways that other people can't. He's an MVP candidate because of that. It's like she always has a chance to win because of just how good she is at the other stuff, and she does train. But I'm glad you really like basically described what we were talking about forever.
It was wild.
Little interesting detail. How close was Jenny to Michele in that opening challenge? Because the way they made it look in the show is like they were like seconds off from each other.
Oh, they were. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were. Like, literally, what's it called? Michele said that Jenny got out of her boat first. And when Michele got out of her boat, she saw in Jenny's boat one or two of the things she had left. She's like, oh, thank God. And she ran to her thing and put hers in. So Jenny was sitting there at her 40 looking like, where's my other pegs? I don't know. I don't have enough. And then she like ran back to the boat and found them. And then, so yeah, it was pretty close.
So if Jenny wins that, we're probably looking at Nerys and Michele in a hall brawl. And as your two friends, I'm gonna let you say who's winning that.
They are so close in size that I do think it would have been Nerys because she is a little bit feistier and a little bit faster. And so I think that would have made the difference. They're both so tiny. So like it would have been interesting. But I do feel that, Nerys is just a little bit physically stronger and feistier. And I don't know if Michele was hungry yet. Michele kind of built more and more hunger along the season. And so yeah, I think that at that stage it would have been probably Nerys, and who knows what else that would have done to the game.
Yeah. So Michele wouldn't have come in second. Would have been one of the first boots. Nerys stays in. She obviously would have dominated the swimming final.
Oh yeah, exactly. Honestly, it was not for it was not for her. It's crazy. I mean that like I said, it just was unfortunate. Like the distance that the swimming was made swimming. If you are good at distance swimming, you could run away with it, and that's what happened on the men's side. Like the discrepancy in skill was so vast that there was just no competition. The girls were like close enough that Michele and Jenny were both good swimmers, so like they could kind of, as we saw, like battle back and forth a little bit, or at least there was some contention. Whereas like for the men, the distance was so far that there was no competitiveness. Which it just it's props to Jordan for having that strong of a skill set, but like I think it just sucked from like from the side of wanting to compete.
Was there any part of you that wished that Nerys was there so there'd be someone worse than you at swimming?
Oh my gosh. Definitely not. Because that is Nerys is another fighter, kind of like a car. Like I was like, for Cara, I was like, man, who knew that not making the final was her birthday gift? Like because she was upset about like I'm going to elimination on my birthday, and it was like, oh, that was the gift. Like, and I think because she was she's such a fighter that she might have drowned and like or something close to that. And because there was times when I was like, I wish I couldn't swim so that way I could drown. It was when I had the cramp. I was in so much pain. They were like, "Do you need medical help?" And I was like, maybe, does that disqualify me? And they're like, probably. And I was like, never mind. I'll just keep going. And so I was just like, man, like, why couldn't this cramp happen in the open ocean so I'd drown? Like, that was really the thought. So Nerys is a fighter and probably would have done the same. So she either would have almost drowned or would have just been miserable, more miserable than me. So yeah, I'd say I care about her too much. So I was glad she wasn't there. It was, yeah, wild. And honestly, I was like, I even thought about that for Rossi. I was like, maybe it's good he wasn't there because he is a decent swimmer, but like Jordan just finished training for the Paralympic, like with the Paralympic like swimmers. Like the distance was so vast that I'm like, I don't know if anybody besides, they say Wes, and like from what I've heard, Josh is apparently like maybe an equal footing swimmer. I don't know. But I know he's a great swimmer. I don't know if he's on that level. I don't know if anybody really is. So it was probably, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, there was one guy, Tyler. He won Rivals and Cutthroat, and he was like, at one point in time, I think he was 4 seconds off the Olympic record for the 100-meter
Wow.
swim.
Oh, wow.
So he was,
Okay.
he was a collegiate swimmer. And
There
there
you
was
go.
also a guy from Real World Denver, Alex Smith, same name as the quarterback, who was a collegiate swimmer too. I think he did one season and was out first.
Okay.
JD, a really good swimmer too.
He was a dolphin instructor, so I don't. Yeah.
So maybe. But yeah, it would have been. It's just such a. Yeah, it's just that distance is crazy. So, it's wild. I was glad they showed some of the shots. Huh? Oh yeah, right.
If you could ride a dolphin, ooh.
The way I wanted to legitimately build a boat, like I was like, guys, can like if I gathered some sticks and was like, I'm gonna start gathering sticks so I can make a boat, and they're like, you cannot do that, and I was like, show me where you guys said that I could not do that. Like, they're like, no, and I was like, fine. And I dropped the sticks.
A really big piece of driftwood that you could use as like a surfboard. Yeah.
I also looked for that. Yes, it was rough. It was so funny. Like literally when we pulled up to the first swim, the general consensus was like, oh, like this is so you guys can get the shot of how crazy this is. Obviously, we're not going to swim to that island from here. That's too far. And they're like, no, like we're starting. And we're like, no, what? What do you mean? That was a Jennifer Lawrence meme. Like, what do you mean? Like, no. Yeah.
I felt in so much pain for you when you were actually just your hand was cramping while counting the money in the whole overnight portion from the swimming.
True, everything was cramped. Like that. I was actually enjoying the counting. Like I was like, I'm not embarrassed for my performance in the final in the water. I was embarrassed for my counting error. That is a shame that I still hold because I was like, I do like counting things and I was doing good. But yeah, my whole body was cramping. Definitely, I think I will say there is that was a little bit of a mental thing because we're counting and on the side I was tallying. And so every what's it called? The ways my tallies was like every like 300 coins or something, or 150 or 300 coins was my tally marks. And I ended up at the end when I had the whole reason I was keeping the tally was so I could double check my work at the end. But when I finished counting, I was like, I don't need a double check. I'm fine. And literally like I was like, my number's probably right. So then I put it in and I gave them my guess and I was off by literally 1 or 2 of my tally marks. So I was like, if I just went back, that's why I wrote the tally marks. But I think I was already like, it's fine, like it doesn't matter. And so I didn't have that urge to double check my work. And I'm disappointed at myself for that because I would have been only 5 off.
And then you would have probably tied Giant Bananas for third, and like you guys are going to share $12,500 taxed.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, facts. Yeah, the coin. Wow. Yeah, 4 points or 2. Wait, instead of 2 points, I get 4, and that's the difference. We literally tied.
Damn, that's crazy. That's actually crazy if you put it like that.
Well, like, no shade to Rachel, but a little bit of shade to Rachel, I guess. Literally, her and Tori did the exact same in the final, besides the counting portion.
Damn.
So, and that's like when we were watching it, it's like Tori's like, I think Tori, even though she like came in fourth, like she was not a bad swimmer in that final even either. Everyone there was just really good. Everyone there was just all four women were so good. And
Tori also had that 2.5 hour elimination in the water the night before.
Yeah.
And
which was
but like
crazy.
Tori's giving her confessionals like sucks, and then Rachel's giving her confessionals like I'm still in it to win, I'm still in it to win. I'm like, not based on what we're watching right now, but like sure.
I will say,
and I love Rachel, but yeah.
Exactly. Say I love Rachel too. I think that the feelings were, I think they had the same feelings during the final. From what was expressed during the final, they were both on the same wavelength. Probably, Tori was probably a little bit more hopeful than her confessionals suggested, and Rachel's probably a little bit more jaded than her confessionals suggested. A little bit to a lot for both of them during the final, because of what they were saying during the final. And then obviously all the interviews come after the final. So I think that there is always that little bit of thing where I'm like, all right, like we gotta speak about how we feel in that moment. What was that?
A little bit of revisionist history there.
Yeah, a little bit of revisionist where I'm like, hey, like, we were in a much different, and you know what, props to Jenny. Jenny was, I think, expressing how, and also she couldn't help it because it just showed how miserable she was the entire final. Like, she really was that miserable, and voiced it. But yeah, that is always a tricky part. And I think that that's something that stands out to me when I watch always is like, I'm like, you guys know that this is all, like, they're giving and granted, I don't think it's, intentional, but I do think I'm like, it's definitely biased to how you feel later on. Like, I was like, there is a bias that is occurring with the information that you now have, and I feel that a lot, especially when people talk about like throwing a challenge or something like that. I'm like, did you feel that you didn't have to win that challenge is a different conversation than did you feel that you actively threw it, like, and if you tried your best, you 100% would have won. Those are very different. And I say that for all the shows, for sort of challenge, and probably more so in Big Brother even, if not the same. I think if you ever watch, I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but if you ever watch Big Brother, 9 times out of 10,
yeah.
if someone says, you said yes?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, if someone says they threw a competition, they did not. Like, there was nothing they could have done to change. As someone who actually did, because our stated plan before the challenge, like, was, hey, this is who needs to win, like, for our Cookout Alliance, like, I was like, I could tell you, I was like, yeah, that did happen, but like, if I tried my best, would I have won? I don't think so. And that's and people do not have that honesty in any of the shows.
I had something right now for a second. I kind of just lost it.
Oh, we were talking about the interviews for Rachel and Michele and Tori.
Well, the running fan theory on the final, which I think is very reasonable, is that the karma points were going to count for 1 checkpoint and they would not have impacted the standings at all. And production saw that they were not going to impact the standings and instead made them count for 2. I think that makes a lot of sense because you guys did 7 checkpoints that would have rounded out, make it a nice even number at 8. And I personally don't understand the karma points counting for 2 checkpoints. So what do you think of fans coming up with this idea?
So the only reason well, first off, I'm like, in general, I'm pretty anti like conspiracy theory and stuff. Like my go-to comment that I think I'll often say that incompetence is far more common than conspiracy in all areas of things. And, people just make mistakes or misjudge something or whatever.
And especially when you're talking about, conspiracies that require coordination between a lot of people and discretion between a lot of people. If you ever, plan a surprise party for more than 10 people, it usually gets out. Like, people are bad at that. So I think but that would be something that would be, only a handful of people would really know that information. So they could probably pull that off. The only reason I will give them credit that I do feel like it may have always been the plan to count as 2 is because from the beginning, TJ on day 1 made a huge point about like, this is going to impact the game. Like, this is going to be a huge factor in the game. Like, before while we were competing, he's like, these karma points are massive. So try your best no matter what, because there can be, if you have some good karma points, that can seriously disrupt the game. And if it was only 1 checkpoint, it would have been such a small factor. We're talking like a 13% or less, 12.5% or something like that chance of it impacting, as opposed to like a 22% impact in the game. I'm like, you know what? Like, that was the only thing, is they were so adamant about it being a huge deal, and it wouldn't have been a huge deal if it was 1. So I do lean towards believing it. Yeah, I mean, it is just now, like, I'm not a fan of the karma points, not like
I think being real competitor.
personally. Yeah, I don't know. I just think competition, like, that is such a part of, a lot of people have said it already, like online, like a big part of the challenge is that, like, yeah, you need your social game to get to the end, but at the end, it's just about, can you win? And I think that is part of it. But, I think that is, and my other issue with the karma points actually is it's not or my main issue about the karma points. I have 0 issue with the result of the karma points. Obviously, I wish it didn't negatively impact Michele because of how close we are. But it's the way the game played out, and that's no one did anything wrong, and no one was undeserving as far as like just if you count legacy and skill set and performance and the road that they had. Everyone had a pretty solid road, especially among the women, of getting to the final and doing it. So, but the thing that I had an issue with the karma points was the way they were portrayed. As they were portrayed as how you treat people matters was the ongoing saying. And it actually didn't. It had nothing to do with how you treated people. It had to be like, who are your friends, and are they smart enough to skew the points in your favor? The way that only a couple of people from the confessionals, only a couple did, but like maybe more did. But like Josh says it straight up. He's like, all right, I'm gonna give these people 5s. Everyone else has to get 1, no matter how I feel about them. Otherwise, my points don't impact very much. I want my points to have maximum impact. So every person that does that is saying straight up, it doesn't matter how you treat me. This is what I'm going to do. And so it's not karma points. It's not, how you treated people. It just is who your friends happen to be. And that is, so I think they're just misrepresented. And that was my issue with them. Maybe call them something else.
Were you surprised that you came in second for karma points?
No, I feel like there was that knowledge that like me and Derek were going to be high up, and like we knew Derek was going to be the highest because Derek did not bother anyone at any moment. He was just welcome, positive, like welcome, fun energy, not making, and also by nature of the game, like if you're not in a decision-making position, you don't have an opportunity to make anyone upset. So I think that is another, like, just by nature of being in the position of power at times, like, you create the possibility to piss people off. So I think that we knew, like, and Derek is just fun and social, and he's just well liked. So like we knew that. And if it was anyone, excuse me, I'd say pretty much almost of the 20. I'm like, besides maybe, I don't know, Tony, and maybe, let's go. Yeah. Besides people from Era 3, and so I'm the only guy from Era 4 there. If there was no other guys there from Era 4, and let's say no other guys from Era 3, with the exception of maybe Leroy, I was like,
I feel like I knew I was like, I'm gonna get more karma points than Johnny and Jordan simply because most people don't want a repeat winner. Like most people want to give other people the odds of winning. I think that was a common theme that people like throughout the house. People would say like, "Hey, I'm not here to help somebody else, get their next win. Like I want to win, or I want someone else new to win." And so I think we felt that was going to be the case. Yeah, it was interesting.
I remember what I was going to ask. Your elimination with Devin. At what point, at a certain point, watching back, do you think Devin was actively trying to put up as worse as possible of a score?
You think he was actively trying to put
Yeah,
up a
because
bad score?
I think you were very clearly winning the elimination, and it was like there was no chance he was going to catch up. And then at that certain point, I think he was just, all right, let's see if I can go 3 for 40 and 2 for 40 instead of because if he lost like 13 to 40 to 40 to 40, that would be like embarrassing still. I think he was trying to make a joke of it at a certain point.
You can give him that much credit. I have respect for Devin as a competitor, but not enough to give him that credit.
Because it was a blowout regardless. It was a blowout.
Yeah, no,
it was just yeah.
So I do, and also I'd say another factor is that neither of us did know. I think both of us thought going in, and since the guys went first, we thought that the solving the puzzle part of it was going to be a lot harder than it was. So like even Devin said like, you know what, I'm going slow and steady because it's going to be very hard to figure out this matching. And and even while you're watching, like when you're there and because we're still figuring it out ourselves, even if he sees me pull ahead, I feel like he can look at it and think like, okay, like maybe those last 4 will take 20 trips before you can figure out how to do them because there's more plugs than there is spaces or vice versa or whatever. It could be really hard to figure out. So I do feel like, I think that he did just, which I've done before, I think he thought it was going to be harder than it, I mean, it's challenging. And like, I don't think most people are going to do as good as like probably either of us in that sort of game if we, at our best on it. But yeah, sometimes you're like, okay, this is going to be so hard. So he even said when he did the parts that he did, he's like, all right, I'm just going to figure out for sure how to do it. So I'm going to do these like 3 or 4 to make sure that they match. Or these first 2, I think he did at a time or whatever, to make sure they match. Okay, I do understand it. Now I'm going to try and do more on the next guess, but he just didn't have the opportunity for the next guess. That's my guess, but obviously I'm going to be biased in that. So, but that's my belief.
That was, it was a massive blowout. It was just, unfortunately, it was also one of the worst designed eliminations ever. No offense, just untangling wires. Like, it just.
Hey, I agree in general. I think we didn't have the best eliminations this season, minus a few call outs that, yeah, actually, we can talk about that. Favorite eliminations, because there wasn't many that I had as far as format design. But I was like, my only thing that I do like to acknowledge is like we are drenched in sweat because it was so hot and actively work to untangle. So it was one of those things that is harder than it looks. But I agree, like it's not anywhere near in the higher upper 50% of eliminations that I think are cool or that I really like. However, it was really cool to get the win because I think that was the thing with Darrell. Like when I beat Darrell in either of the eliminations from 39 or 40, like those are once again challenging things. The 39 one was much harder than the 41. But he's more of a physical competitor. So I didn't get to beat him in his arena. And like with Devin, I got to beat him in arguably like his arena. And that felt really cool. So I appreciate it for that moment. But then also looking at the rest of the eliminations, like, I think everyone probably feels this way to a degree, but I also feel like I have a track record to say with some sense of validity, like, or at least some degree of certainty that, like, even if it's not fully certain, I'm like, I think I have pretty good odds of beating most people in most of the eliminations that we saw, with the exception, I was like, the 2 that I would never want to touch was the tube one that Theo and Johnny did for multiple reasons. The cards was insane, an insane factor of the game. Don't know why that was there. Terrible, dumb decision. And but then also size wise, like I'm like literally I'm one of the the biggest like guys besides Theo and Josh, like and Johnny, I guess, and I was like, I don't even know if CT was gonna get in there. Like that was crazy. It was, yeah. So that one was terrible, and then the ATV one, which like is fun to do at home, but not fun in that environment with those stakes. Where once again, these are tiny electric ATVs, and I'm one of the 5 largest people there, so I'm already going to be draining the battery harder on it. And at any time, those things could malfunction. So like I was like, I absolutely didn't want to do either of those two, but everything else I felt pretty good about. And yeah, which ones outside of those the invitational, those opening 4 headbangers, and taking shelter, I guess. Which ones really stood out to you guys as like good ones?
It was definitely lacking this season. I thought it was kind of honestly like disrespectful for the 40th season for some of these eliminations to be so lame. I thought the one with Jenny and Aviv had potential if it was tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, tweaked. What would be a tweak?
So
2 different competitors.
Or one different competitor. Trade one of them for somebody else. Yeah.
Make it more
Michele and Aviv in that would have been really fun.
Michele and Aviv, or Jenny and Tori or Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
We just said like them having to like get themselves into the cage to start, and then having more than one like medicine ball worth different like whatever the combined weight at the end would have been. So if there was like 20 balls in there and they had to get it into their section, and then whatever your combined weight at the end was, that would have been interesting.
I need to ask, have you ever seen Kim versus Susie on the Ruins?
Which elimination?
It's a pole wrestle, but instead of a pole, they're using a rope.
Yeah.
And so
I've seen that clip.
Yeah, it's I think that's the best physical elimination there's ever been in challenge history. And it's 2 like 105-pound girls just going at it, and because it's a rope instead of a pole, they're able to put the rope in places that you can't put a pole. And at one point, she ties the girl up and power bombs her even, and it's just like and chokes her and like because you could put ropes in places that you can't hold onto a pole.
Yeah, of course.
It's the most insane and it's dangerous, and it's like so I love it when you have like 2 like people who are like just equal size. Yeah,
yes, for sure.
So that's why I'm like. Michelle's a little bit taller than Aviv. Aviv's a little bit more muscular. So that'd just be a fun, scrappy matchup.
Oh, for sure. That'd be much more fun. I will say, what?
I was just going to say, same thing with Corey and Josh's elimination. Could have been a lot better if it was more evenly matched.
Oh, okay. I agree. But I will say, I think that was probably my favorite of all the designs. I think that this is a superior game to Hall Brawl. Like, to my knowledge, and maybe you guys know, I was like, I don't think there's ever been an upset in a Hall Brawl because it just comes down to mass. Like, who's the bigger person is going to win. And I think that is boring in a sense. And I like something that's competitive. And I feel like that game allows more strategy to be a factor. And so that was, it was just, if somebody did implement strategy, it would have been that was a game where I was like, dang, this is cool. And a lot of us talked about, like, even from a safety aspect, this probably should replace Hall Brawl. They need to rename it because I'm pretty sure it was called Coming From Behind was the name of it. But we're like, maybe change the name. But let's staple this in instead of Hall Brawl. You get the physical aspect, but with some strategy in there. And so I can imagine, it wasn't necessarily evenly matched.
But it had potential.
That's why, I think that one has a lot of potential. But I will say overall for the eliminations, one thing I do try and give them credit for is I think because they were bringing so many of their iconic like goats of the show that they were like, we want to make sure none of these people get hurt for future All-Stars or future seasons. And so we want all of them to have some equalizer in there. So we want there to be some physical and some mental aspect to all of them to make them a little bit more balanced. I do think that was a reason, and so I did appreciate. I'm like, well, I think it is cool that everything has a physical and mental aspect. I think to mix the two. But that being said, like there are so many greats that they could have. It's like I think Not So Fast is the best made game elimination in my opinion, because it is strength, endurance, agility, and some strategy, and I think it's awesome. And then I really like I always forget the name when you punch the wall and climb.
Wrecking Wall.
Wrecking Wall. I think that's a dope game.
Yeah.
I just really want to try it. So those are. I'm like, man, I wish we saw like more iconic ones. But yeah.
I think that would have actually been a really cool theme to do, is like only going back into the archives and looking back at great eliminations.
I think they didn't want that Air 4 blowout. If it was just all, I mean, it came anyway, but no, I don't know. That's something that I've been trying to promote. I'm like, hey guys, we got to recognize Air 4 has the most team wins, the most finalists. We gotta, put some respect in for the new kids. I'm just saying.
Oh, agreed, 100%.
And some would even say that season 39 might have been better than 40. Some would say. After y'all took all that heat last season.
I have seen people talking about that, and I'm like, I mean, I don't think so overall, but tons of fun on both. But I do, but I understand both for sure. It was, we had a fun cast, so we'll see how the All Stars 5 cast goes too. Maybe the rivals theme will create more exciting drama for the people who like that.
As someone that grew up hating seasons, sometimes depending on who won, I think that there are certain seasons that are going to age really well. I think 39 had a lackluster winner. I think if you add in a male and female winner to 39, fans have a much different feeling about it.
Absolutely.
So I think it aged well as an entertaining season, but it definitely left a sour taste in your mouth while you were watching it.
I feel like 40, I don't know. I wonder if 40 is going to age well. I think it will, personally, because I think just people got to see so many, even if they didn't, love the performance of them, they got to see all of their favorites, or many of their favorites together. And I think that might age well. And then also binging it, Wes made a comment about if you binge it, it's probably going to be more enjoyable than watching it over the course of 5 months or whatever it was. And I was like, that's probably true too.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Yeah. I mean, and 39, honestly, you know what? I may have to binge 39 sometime and see how I enjoy it, because obviously I enjoyed it, but that's, I enjoyed it minus the end, like you said.
Look, I think when a season finishes strong, that's always I'll take that over a season finishing dying out on its last breath. And 39 with that stretch at Nerys, even though you had to lose and cry,
I cried so much more than they showed. I'm so glad.
You talked about it on the podcast, and then I've always had to deal with a whole year of people being like, Kyland threw it. I'm like, I know Kyland didn't throw it because he keeps talking about how much he cried.
So much.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I just know how much you respect Nerys, and I just don't think you would throw it because you respect her.
Well, yes, I respect her and Horacio, but it was actually for both of us, me and Horacio, the biggest motivating factor for us was we know the season has one winner, and we want whoever goes back in to have the best odds of winning. Me and Horacio both thought we had better odds of winning than Nerys did, which who knows if that would have been true considering she still comes in second. But we felt good about our odds, so thus our motivation was, okay, if there's one winner, we got to make sure whoever wins, we don't want anybody in the house to win besides one of us three. So we got to figure out how to increase those odds. And so we definitely gave her all. It just was not our day. And it was hers, and she's, multi-talented. The skill sets needed for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People thought you threw it, though. Even though James couldn't run a mile and Berna can't count to 5, they thought, yeah, you know what? I don't want to face them in the final. I'm going to throw it to Nerys.
Oh my god! All right, wait, yeah. I'm like, what? I'm like, who's in this cast? I was like, any other takes? I probably, you know what? Oh, that's why I have stuff saved. I do have. I think I bookmarked some tweets. I was like, not even yours.
Kyland has just a burn book of challengers.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I will say, unrelated. I think I messaged you. I was dying, Alan, at your tweet about when responding to people about Wes. When you're like, I don't know who this guy is, and then just seeing people like, you should check him out. He's actually really impressive on on the show.
For reference, I not only am I like Wes is probably my favorite challenger ever. And we once did an on the phone interview where Wes talked on speakerphone, like he talked for 2 hours. And this was back when I would do like interviews over the phone. I would record them and then transcribe them. So it took me over a month to transcribe the interview. And then and then we had to postpone it a little bit after that too, because a cast member might have gotten canceled and like it changed the whole interview. They may have gotten completely edited out the show. This was a whole different era in time. Yeah.
I know.
So yeah, like me and Wes have history, and so when I tweeted that, I thought it'd be like a silly little joke that would get like 20 likes online. It was just for my followers, and then the tweet left the community to this whole different reality TV world, and then I was like, and then a few days later, like after a certain reply, I was like, let's get it going. All right, guys, you say he dominates the challenge. I'm gonna watch Battle of the Seasons, the episode knowing, and yeah, the internet really took that by storm.
Yes, the monster truck comment was gold. And you know what? I was like, I'm scrolling through. I was like, where are my Challenge 40 podcast notes? And some of them are just Challenge 40 tweets that I liked. I was like, it wasn't even your guys, it's just a random person. I was like, why did this make me laugh? Because of its accuracy. They said Kyland being reduced to a human ladder is the most productive he's been in this final. And I was like, damn, why is that true though? As far as productivity, I was like, yeah, that was probably a thing. Hey, you had us eating the Whoppers, and you were talking about I don't know if you were, but people talk about like the Burger King stuff. I was like, what's crazy is we are that excited by the time we get there.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just a taste of home, and like it's not for show. Like we are. I mean, I was less excited because I knew the burgers were going to be cold by the time we got there. But I just took some home and was able to heat them up. However, it did turn out we randomly had the best frozen patties that any of us have ever had at the house, like in stock. There were these Australian beef burger patties that they would bring us, and we would go through them like crazy. That summer, I ate the most burgers that I've eaten the previous 5 to 10 years, like at least 5 years. Like we ate burger patties 10 a week for 10 weeks. Like it was, and we had pretty decent food, but like, there's not a lot to do, so we eat a lot, and and they were delicious.
Okay, what was it like having to cook in that little tiny hallway? What the hell was going on with that?
Well, I was gonna say, once you figure out something that you can make in that hallway, that's probably why you eat so many burgers. You're like, this works, and I can do this.
I had to straighten up right now because I remembered about how like the first couple of weeks, like my back would not the first couple of weeks, first week, my back would hurt because I do like cooking, and even when they would bring us food, they brought us pretty decent food, but like we have so much time that I'm like, I like this food, but I know if I doctor it up, I'll love it. So why not just spend the time to love all the food I'm eating while I'm here because I have nothing but time. So I would be in the kitchen cooking every day. Like even when they bring us food, I'd grab them, whatever they brought us catered, and I would like bring it over to the stove and like doctor it up or something. And the kitchen was the weirdest design. So you had to be hunched over, and it was like a Hobbit kitchen or something. So after about a week, though, I realized I would just go grab a chair from the dining hall, the main hall. So I'd grab the chair and bring it over. Production would always move it back, I guess, because it ruined their shots. So I would have to go grab it every day, sometimes twice a day, to sit there. But that's where people knew to find me usually, just sitting in front of the stove on a little chair cooking. Yeah, that is
It was ridiculous. Oh, also, here's the deal. Accommodations. I'm also fairly low maintenance, but I was like, accommodations to me were fine. Like people were complaining like we were living in an outdoor trailer park or something. And I was like, this is fine. Like it's not, obviously it's not ideal home conditions, but you know, we had all the resources. That being said, things that were stand out was for the first like 2 or 3 weeks, the sink. There was two sinks in the kitchen, and the middle one you couldn't use because it would shock you. And we're like, the sink shouldn't be shocking people. I don't know what's happening here, but you guys got to do something about that. And there was one other thing I don't remember that was like noticeably bad about it.
You
But
guys only had 2 showers, right?
so 2 indoor showers. So there's 2 indoor showers that were very nice, like the rock setup. Those
Yeah,
indoor
and then Brad and Emily are in there, so you only had one.
Yes. Well, the showers, also the indoor showers didn't have hot water. So we thought for the first like 2 or 3 weeks. Then I did some snooping and I found there was a hot water heater that you could turn on to take the shower. And I kind of kept that to myself. I think I told obviously Horacio before he left. So I guess I figured it out in the first week. And then, but to my knowledge, I never saw steam come out of that shower for anyone else. So I don't think that anyone else figured it out. One or two times I left it on and I was like, damn it. Like, cause you want your little joys in life. And also I didn't want there to be a line. So if they thought that the only hot water was the porta potty showers that we had outside, and like those very hot water, they were cleaned every 2 hours of the day or something like that. They were fine. It just was weird that you would sit on the toilet and then stand up and move over 2 feet and there's your shower. So like I get it was weird, but like they were clean and it was a place where you could get really hot water if you wanted to shower with hot water. And as far as they knew, that was the only place to get hot water. So, but yeah, and then fortunately, yeah, Brad and Emily were occupying the showers, but not that long. Yeah, it was and the rest of the it was whatever. I mean, we had the rooms. I do think it did. The fact that the house literally had two sides was kind of funny. I was like, I feel like this influences the game a little bit. Like not in like a bad way, but just maybe it would have happened naturally. But I was like, I do think that the fact that era 1 and 2 are on the same side and 3 and 4 are on opposite sides of the house, and our rooms are basically one room, like for both eras. Like there was like a door that would separate us, but the door was kept open. So we were basically all in one giant room of both eras. The design of the house was interesting. But our outdoor pool area was very like resort-like. So, and I also just came from Big Brother where, like I said, we are trapped in the house and we only get sunlight 2 days a week. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, this is the life of luxury that we're living here. We can go outside whenever we want and they cook us food and it's amazing. So I think that's another benefit of coming from Big Brother is you can appreciate some things that others can't.
You guys have like 28, I mean, especially because everyone got eliminated so fast in the opening first, 30 plus really fit people in the house. What's the protein powder and like pre-workout situation? Because I assume everyone, I drink my protein powder daily and stuff like that. So I assume that you guys are taking, a decent amount. Y'all are taking it. Do they supply you guys, or do you have to bring it on? How do you even do that? Like,
That's actually probably the biggest bullshit one of the biggest bullshit things about the challenge is that we have to bring our own supplements, our own protein. I'm like, even protein. I'm like if you like, we could ask for it, and then they're like, yeah, can you give us cash or your card, and we'll go get you some protein. And the choices here are limited, so we're paying a high premium on protein. And I was like, really, you guys can't find a couple $100 just to give us protein for the season? Like I appreciate everything you do. So it's not even like we buy our own drinks, which I'm like, I get it, fair enough, whatever. People, because that will vary for people, and it probably creates more, at least some regulation to not overindulge too consistently if you have to pay for it. So whatever. But I'm like, you guys can't, or maybe it's a liability thing for the alcohol. But I was like, you guys can't just, get us some protein like that. So yeah, it is. Everyone just gets their own, and you leave it in your room. If you leave it outside, it will get used. If you leave it in the kitchen, and pre-workout, same thing. So like I actually brought 2 pre-workouts. I had like a cheaper one and a nicer one, and I would like keep the cheaper one hidden because I wanted to be nice. When somebody asked me, "Can I have some?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can have some. Here you go." And I would give them some, and then save my nicer one for me.
What are your brands?
I actually use I really like vintage. It's called Old School Labs. It has some random 80s looking man with a mustache on the box. It's Old School Labs is the design, and I really like it because I mean they all have most of them have caffeine, but it also has high B12 and a bunch of other vitamins. I'll send you a picture. I really like it. I think like I don't even use it every day because I think I actually haven't looked into the science behind it, but in my head I feel like it works better if I don't use this one every day. So usually I'll just use like Alani sends me pretty regular like
I was pretty jealous of that. You posted it on. I was pretty.
Well, they sent me the pre-workout powder. I'll send you one, the next one, because I actually have extra usually. But they. Yeah, so Alani sent some, so I'll use that as like a daily protein powder or pre-workout, and then but if I'm doing like a long workout, then I'll throw on the Old School Labs one. In protein, I'm actually indifferent. I just found one that has a good deal on Amazon and Costco. I have a vanilla one that I get for my smoothies, and then I have a chocolate one that I just found on Amazon, and really I just go by I was like, what's a good price? But the protein powder I'm more picky on, but it's so wild try to do that there when I don't know, we are working out consistently, but we're definitely deteriorating to some degree. Like it's not ideal conditions for you to like you're not going to get stronger or faster while there. It does come down to like what you were doing beforehand and that was the devastating part about the change when TJ was like, hey, it's a little too green here for my taste. So Johnny was making fun of me and Jordan because me and Jordan would only work out outside at peak hours of sun because we're like, we want to acclimate to the climate. Like we want to acclimate for the climate for final. And Johnny was like, you guys spent all that time like acclimating. It doesn't even matter. We're about to go to the snowy mountains. And then TJ was like, yeah, it's too green here. So we're like, we're going to go to the mountains or the Sahara Desert. And then we go to Philippines. And we're like, oh.
Which is still green.
Still green and blue is I guess what he was alluding to. But I'm like, it's just as hot and humid here. Or slightly less hot, but more humid, actually. So we're like, okay, this is not that different, minus all the water, obviously. So it was a time. It was a time. Yeah. I'm like, is there any? I was like, oh man, anything else I saved? I don't know.
Can we ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable?
Totally. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to ask about the relationship with Naya because I think like it's so long ago at this point, and she's probably done a million podcasts. You've done a million podcasts talking about it. But what's it like having a persona in the reality TV world where people are always linking you with other female cat? Like, what's it like essentially? Like, don't kiss and tell, but what's it just having that persona like in this world of being like kind of a reality TV playboy? I know. I know you're laughing at it, but it's a lot of people link you with a lot of names, and you're aware of it.
I will say it's one of those things though that you got to be really deep in the Twitter sphere for like it's only people who actively follow all the shows and all the social that actually and like follow everyone on social that have that perception that it could be accurate. So I will say it's not like a general consensus.
However, I also think that the perception is there because I don't kiss and tell. I think that I end up, friendly and connected to lots of women, and actually friendly legitimately. I also have a lot of female friends. I always have, probably because I grew up with all sisters. But I think that a lot of it is because I'm respectful. I was like, if you've heard something, if anyone in this space has heard something, it was not from me. I'm not talking about anything that I am doing with anybody. So I think that makes people feel comfortable. And already, I like people in general. So I'm a friendly person in general. And so I think that is just, I'm friendly and people, and I respect people's privacy. And those things combined have resulted in, probably less than people say, but we have multiple interactions with multiple relationships with people have occurred. And but the downside to it is the exaggeration, as far as when I see people, when I am just hanging out with anybody that is a woman, and people are like, oh, these two are hooking up, and I'm like, no, we're not. It is. I understand why you might think that, but it is. But I don't say who I am. So thus, it leaves the floodgates open for people to just assume with whoever, and they do.
And I will say, it's not the challenge fandom people saying that. It's the Big Brother people, because those
You are
people,
correct.
they get really into your lives and they follow everything. And
They
that's
do.
so it's not just the Twitter sphere, the Big Brother Reddit sphere, which I'm not a big Brother fan, but just see stuff I have the subreddits, and then I just see a post just going online, people just talking about you. So it's a whole, they're so invested in your lives even years after.
Somebody asked me that. They're like, who's the most they said, who's the most passionate fans? And I almost said Big Brother, and I realized, I was like, actually, no. The most passionate fans are the challenge fans. The most obsessed fans are the Big Brother fans. And that is there's a deeper, they truly, not this year, but last year even, for sure, at some point, my mom or my sister would have gotten at least one or two emails, talking about how I'm a terrible person or something like that because of something that happened on Big Brother. They're just holding on to anything. And they really, it is a deep, I think because of the live feeds, probably they just have they spend so much more time directly invested in a daily, hourly sense.
Well, they spend less time outside than you guys do on Big Brother.
Probably, exactly, yeah. So that is, so that ends up being, it's crazy, it's wild, and they have strong feelings and strong opinions, and it's just once again wild because it's I'm like, you guys aren't realizing that we have our own relationships. So I'm like, they're just how, oh my, they are protecting someone from, we're like, we are good. We are talking and we have already moved past that. People are upset about, me and Tiffany's one exchange that we had. And then it's you guys, we are very close. It's one of my favorite people in the world. That is, it's all good. It is crazy. How when people are mad on someone else's behalf, and we're we're not. You guys don't have to be mad for us. It is wild.
And I know from how crazy obsessed they are. Congratulations on your semi new apartment now, or
Yes, yeah. I'm a couple months in, and I am 90% unpacked. Maybe I was gonna say 95, and then I took out boxes and stuff I had just kind of hidden in the closet, and I was like, nope, this all needs to find its home. So, thank you. I'm very excited. I am, I'm downtown, so we were out of the fires. Definitely mentally, emotionally affected by the turmoil surrounding us, but in the actual downtown, we were safe. And I love it. I'm central to my family that is still in SoCal, and the different people I hang out with, and also I just like being, I don't know, I like being in the city. I'd always say if not for the weather, I'd live like in New York or something. I love cities, but I also love good weather. So I stay here.
You're also, I mean, well, sorry, you're doing kind of well for yourself right now because if you're living in LA, you're doing kind of well, because I got pushed out. We bonded over being like both from SoCal originally. I got pushed out. I'm living in Arizona, about 20 minutes outside Phoenix now. Much more. I love it here, by the way. I love it here, but I went back to SoCal for the holidays, and I don't think I'm coming back.
What's it called? Definitely, it is. I'm always like, if you're on TV, if you don't win, you're not winning anything crazy. If you're new, especially, it is. I think you're just smarter. It's like I was talking to my sister, one of my sisters, my youngest sister. She lives in Washington, yeah, she's in Washington State, but like right across the water from Portland. So basically works in Portland and lives in Washington as a lot of people do. And she's like, I was like, how much we're paying the same in rent, and I'm in this studio. And she's like, yeah, I just got this 2-bedroom place with a garage. And I was like, oh, okay, you just chose to be happy. I'm happy. Let me say, you just chose a certain lifestyle, and that is Olivia's living it up with multiple houses in Arizona. So there's something to be said about being smarter with where you're living.
I just saw her like 2 weeks ago. I went to Derek's finale
nice.
party in Scottsdale because I don't live far from Derek now. I've been to the place he works at. Like I'm in the area now.
Nice. Oh, it's a great spot. I went out there to hang out. What was it? I guess 2 years ago now, and that was awesome. I had a great time. Arizona's just vibe. I haven't been to Vermont though. What's Vermont like?
Cold.
Yeah, how cold is it right now?
I think it was like 15 today. We're about to enter a little bit more of a cold snap, so I think it's like a high of like 4. But it's gonna warm up to like 25.
Is that dangerous?
No, it's not dangerous.
Oh, okay. In my head, that sounds like people would die when they walk out. That's not day after tomorrow weather?
No, you get used to it, just like you get used to anything. But we also have gear for it. Like, we're prepared. So I have lots of stuff to prepare for the cold weather. I live like right at the base of a ski mountain, so.
Okay, there you go. Yes, I do have like literally like 2 jackets that I cannot wear here because it doesn't get cold enough to wear them. But I have them to wear when I go other places that are cold. So that makes sense though. You do adapt.
Yeah.
That is crazy though. I only have felt 4 degrees before outside of like a cryo room or something.
If you need to prepare for a potentially very cold X's2 final, I know a spot that would prepare you quite well.
No, you got me thinking about it actually. I'm like, yo,
excuse me.
That I don't know. That I feel like I would be welcome after freaking the humidity that we had was rough. But it was yeah. So I wouldn't mind some cold, but I've also never been that cold, so that does sound pretty insane.
It's all about the gear. That's all.
Kylie, you need to go experience this cold now because the way you're talking about it, we're going to be talking about the season 41 final at some point. You're going to come in 4th place. You're like, you know what? I should have trained more in the snow.
Hey,
I had the premonition right now that that's going to be the podcast topic next year if you don't start doing it now.
I will say, I think I do feel well suited for cold. I don't know. I do feel like I run pretty hot. I'm often cold. I visit friends in Colorado where maybe it's not, it is below freezing, but it's not. Like I said, I haven't done 4. But when they were telling me about the cold in Total Madness and how crazy it was, and I was like, but it wasn't, once again, it wasn't full. It wasn't like that cold. So I'm like, I think I would thrive there. And I do a lot of ice baths. I stay in cryo, but
you know, it crossed my mind while we were talking. I'm not gonna lie. It did cross
This
my
feels
mind.
like the Breaking Bad meme where it's Walter yelling as he's trapped in the car. Like, no, Kylan, no. Like, you gotta actually train for this. Because I watched Fessy have a big lead in that final and just die because he's such a big dude, and like bigger dudes do not hold up super well in the snow.
He said from the cold.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
it's like from the like CT's died in the cold, Zach died in the cold. The bigger you're not as big as them, but you're you're not small either.
Man, you know what? I thought I was thinking the Interstellar meme, like knocking on the glass, like no,
Yes. Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I was like, dang. All right, you know what? I'll be ready. Now you got me thinking. I may have to go. Where's the cold front hitting the cold snap?
Next couple days, but it comes back. Don't worry. It's like winter for 6 months here, so.
All right. This may be. I have to take this as the sign because I said. I'm sure, I don't know if you saw the tweet. I was like, when I did the swim training, when we finished, I was like, oh, this is great. You know, I just got like tripled my speed here, and they're like, yeah, and you know, next time we can work on like the breathing for like long distance swimming. I was like, I don't need that, but yeah, like you know, we'll get to that sometime, but no big deal. We don't need that. And I literally was like, whoa. The fact that I had that conversation made me feel so much more. I was like, dang, I really should have done that. The distance part. Yeah, so I am, yeah, these are all being kept in mind. I will tell you that.
Well, I think we could wrap up. Is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
You know, I'm double checking. Yeah, we had oh nope, I'm at the end of that one. Post final. No, this was actually one of my favorite. They're like, this is how Kyland must have felt when he got third in the counting one. I was like, yes, that was accurate. That was if you saw that meme. I was like, this is so celebrating. I was like, that was a favorite that I saved.
Keep Johnny behind on that little island drinking coconut water too.
Yes. I mean, I think, you guys are aware for sure. But that was one of the things I had saved early on was when everyone was just like, why are we letting Jordan, go to why are these guys letting Jordan go to the final? I was like, we don't have any say, everybody. Like, I don't understand how to make this more clear to the fact that the guys don't have a say in which guys go into elimination. So stop blaming us. That was one of the only other comments I feel like that I say but by now people have talked about it, and you guys obviously know that, but apparently people were not understanding that concept pretty consistently.
I was trying to figure out ways Jordan could lose that final. What I came up best was like when you guys would ever jump off the boat, one of you maybe trying to knee him in the head, like as you guys are going out, maybe concuss him. Like that was like literally the only, and it had to be on that immediate jump because once you're in the water, nobody's catching him.
Yeah. I did run past the idea of him. I was like, hey, it's impressive what you're doing, but how much more impressive would it be if you also dragged me to the water at each time? Like that would be more impressive. And he's like, you're not wrong.
That's a Tyson. That's what
Yeah,
Tyson
exactly.
did, right?
That's a Tyson thing. Yes. I was like, it would be very impressive. I was like, maybe if I was a little bit smaller, but no, I legitimately think him dragging me, would have just, he might still be taking that.
That's
the swim portion. Yeah.
That's who would have been good in that final. Tyson, except he's still somewhere trying to figure out what Sudoku is.
Which is wild. But yes, actually, in the swim, that is the person. Yeah. Wow. That is him. Yeah. Because he did win a swimming challenge dragging someone by a lot. So yeah, that is, wow. That would have been crazy, actually. I'm thinking about this now. Like that would have been crazy, yeah, to see.
Well,
Yes.
it's great it's always great having you on the podcast. We'll have you on again. Maybe we'll bring
Thank
on.
you.
Are you going to watch All Stars 5 or
You should
4?
recap an
Yeah.
episode with us.
Yeah, come on during All Stars
I'm
5.
down.
Give us your opinions. Tell us who you hate and don't like. We'll see if Corey knows how to walk across a balance beam now. We'll see.
I'm down. Yes, I actually am interested in watching All Stars 5. So I would definitely have fun talking about it with you guys. Let me know.
Yeah, of course.
Keep me posted.
So you can follow
Thank you.
us at Caffeine Confession at CF Confessionals on Twitter, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get the podcast. Don't follow Kylan on anywhere. He probably has enough followers. So
Fair. Follow Caffeine Confessions
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Follow on all the socials. Subscribe. Like. This is the pod. They're going in deep here. This is the place to be.
And do not email Kylan's family about anything bad he did on Big Brother 4 years ago now. 3 years ago. How long ago was it now?
4 years ago.
Well, 4 years
almost
ago now.
Yeah, it's about to be. Yeah, we're in the 4th year away. So thank you. I appreciate that as well.
Kindly get a grip.
Kindly get a grip.
Signing off.
Right? Yes. Signing off. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks to anybody listening. Yes, I appreciate all of y'all, and thanks for thanks for everything. This is so cool always to talk about the show. So we can only talk about it because people still watch it and love talking about it. So I'm appreciative.